turn to Philippians chapter 3, and we'll start with verse 12. It'll be a little bit before we get there. So what I want to do is I want to tell you a story before we really get into the heart of the message. My dad has the best sense of direction in the world. He knows his north from south and east from west, and he's got the best sense of direction ever. And you can ask my dad, where to, how do I get to this place? And he will explain it to you perfectly. I mean, he's just incredible. He used to own a gas station for over 15 years. And for those of you that are a little older and before there was all kinds of amazing technology, what did you do whenever you couldn't find a place? You went to a gas station, right? And it was just like everybody thought that everybody that worked in a gas station knew exactly where you wanted to go. I don't know why, but we all do it. And so, but the thing was, he knew where everybody wanted to go. And so that would be like if you said, hey, I want to go to this place, he would say, all right, this is what you got to do. You turn right out of the parking lot, then you go 2.3 miles, you take a left on this road, you'll be going north at that point, then you take another right in about 3.7 miles, then you'll be getting on the interstate, and you'll be taking exit number 73 to get onto I-30 West, and he could just list it all, give you the mileage. He's incredible with his sense of direction, and he doesn't use any kind of technology. Not that he has a fear of technology or anything. He looks up where he's supposed to go, and he's got the directions in his head, and he's good to go. He doesn't need a whole lot, and it's just incredible. Now I, on the other hand, am the complete opposite. If you ask me for directions, let's say you ask me for directions to get to Walmart, I'm going to say go right out of the parking lot. There's going to be a Walgreens eventually. You'll turn left there, and then you'll go for a while. You'll see the golden arches, and then on the left will be Walmart. That's all you get out of me. It's landmarks, and you turn a couple times, and that's all you get out of me. And I always use the golden arches. I always use McDonald's. Even if you're not going anywhere near McDonald's, I'll say, hey, if you see a McDonald's, you went the wrong way. The golden arches always help. So I'm terrible with directions, but my dad has always been incredible. So that's what we're going to talk about a little bit today. We are going to talk about an amazing device that was created. I believe that God created some really smart people so that they could help me out, because they created this device called a GPS. Anybody ever used a GPS before? So for those of you that don't know what a GPS stands for, GPS stands for Global Positioning System. And I looked up the definition. And a global positioning system is a radio navigation system that allows land, sea, and airborne users to determine their exact location, velocity, and time 24 hours a day in all weather conditions anywhere in the world. Which basically just boils down to the Boone simplified version is GPS can get you wherever you want, whenever you want. So obviously it's used in military, NASA uses it, anybody and everybody uses it, but us simple civilians use it to get from one place to another, right? Just to drive down the road. So this piece of technology changed my life forever. And because I never knew where I was going. And whenever this came out, it was just simply incredible, because all I had to do was put in the address where I was going into my GPS, and it talks to you and just says, sometimes I get mad at the lady that talks to me, but it just tells you exactly where to go. So it's incredible. So we're going to talk about GPSs today. And so there's 3 things that the GPS does for us. And then we're going to talk about the spiritual aspect of a GPS and 3 things that it does for us. So the first thing that a real GPS does for us is it tells us where you've been. It tells you where you've been. So a GPS can tell you exactly where you started, right? You started in this place, and if you need to get back to it eventually, then you can just type in, a lot of GPSs even start to type in an address, and it takes you, and it just pops right up and says, hey, is this where you want to go? And you're like, yeah, because I've been there before. So it tells you exactly where you've been. And then the second thing it does is it helps you when you're lost. Anybody got lost before? Like I said, I get lost all the time. So it helps you when you're lost. When you're lost, that's when you know it's time to turn on the GPS. So maybe you're like, okay, I tried to do it my way, but no, now it's time to turn on the GPS because I have no idea where I am. And then the third thing it does is it tells you where you're going to go next. Where am I going next? If you have that question, where am I going to go next, then it'll tell you. So I will arrive like at a destination, and immediately I'll look at the GPS and I'll try to figure out where I'm going to go next. So like not too long ago, we went to a wedding. And as soon as we got there, I got back on my phone, and I was like, okay, how are we going to get back home? Because I know you can't just, go back the way you came. So how are we going to go back, from where we came? And the GPS knows exactly where you're going to go next. It can tell you that. So let's go back now. We're going to go back through these three things, but we're going to do it in a spiritual way. Okay, we're gonna go and during the spiritual aspect of a GPS. So the spiritual GPS, what I like to call it, is the God positioning system. So it's not global anymore. It's God, the God positioning system. Okay, so let's talk about the God positioning system. And the first thing that the God positioning system does is it helps us with the question, where have I been? Where have I been? So my dad, like I said, was incredible with directions. He's amazing. But the funny thing that he does is he tells you exactly how to get to where you're going, and then you go, okay, well, once I get there, how do I get back? And so he always says, go back the way you came. It's like, Dad, I can't do that. So the other day, he sent me to go pick something up for him at this business in this part of town of Little Rock that I had never been to before. And he gave me the exact directions. And after about 10 minutes of him explaining to me how to get there, I said, Dad, what's the address so I can just put it in my GPS? And so he finally did it. And he said, this is how you get. And I said, how do I get back? And he said, go the way you came. I said, Dad, if I did that, I would be on the left side of the interstate and I would get killed. And he's like, no, you just go the way you came. I said, Dad, I can't do that. There's different exit numbers. They tell me to go to Texarkana instead of Jacksonville. You don't just go back the way you came. It doesn't work like that, Dad. And he was like, no, you just go back the way you came. And that's always his answer. So, it doesn't work that way, and you have to take different routes, you have to take different exits, different overpasses. If you went down a one-way street at one point, if you go back the way you came, you're in real trouble, right? So it doesn't work that way. So I am going to tell a story about my wife. A few years ago, when she started going to UCA, and I never have figured out why you didn't use a GPS. Because the technology was there. But, first, let's start off. She doesn't know her left from right. That's legitimate, and she's a first grade teacher. But she always says that she never knew, and she never needed to know her left from right. And I was like, that's kind of important. But now she has a ring on her finger, so she goes, this is my left hand, I know. So she just looks at her hands, and she goes, I need to turn left. But before she had a ring on her finger, what she did was on her windshield of her car, she had a sticky note that said left and a sticky note that said right. And, yeah. And then whenever she needed to go to UCA, she continued on with the sticky note method. And she looked up how to get to UCA, and every single step that it told her to take, she put it on a sticky note. So her whole entire windshield is covered with sticky notes. I was like, A, that's not safe, and B, how are you going to read to take the exit to Conway when it's all the way on the right side of the windshield? But somehow she survived. So then she needed to know how to get back. So there's a whole second road that's basically blocking her entire vision, but she made it back. So like I said, I don't know why you didn't use a GPS, but that's your business and not mine. So she made it safe, so everything is good. But here's the thing. Here's the thing about life. Life is the same way. We can't look back. We can't look back. We can't say, where have I been? Because if we keep on, and if you're going to get anything out of the day, maybe you're in this position, and you're in this position of looking to the past a lot. Maybe you just keep on looking to the past, and you're living in the past. And maybe that's you. If you get anything today, this is what you need to get if you're in this situation. We can't just keep looking back constantly. We can't keep looking back constantly. Why? Because if we keep looking back all the time, then we're going to miss what God's got right here in front of us. You can't look back because you can't see what God's got right here in front of you. God's always putting stuff in front of you. But if you're looking in the past all the time, if you're looking behind you, you're not going to be able to see what's in front of you. So let's go to this verse, or group of verses in Philippians. Philippians 3:12-14 says this right here. It says, I don't mean to say that I have already achieved these things or that I have already reached perfection, but I press on to possess that perfection for which Christ Jesus first possessed me. Verse 13 says this, no, dear brothers and sisters, I have not achieved it, but I focus on this one thing, forgetting the past and looking forward to what lies ahead. And I press on to reach the end of the race and receive the heavenly prize for which God, through Christ Jesus, is calling us. You need to focus on forgetting the past. Y'all, so many of us get caught up in things that we've done in the past. We get caught up in it. And you go, look, I was a drunk, I was an addict, I have family problems, I messed up with my family, I messed up with my wife, I messed up with my husband, I've messed up with my finances, I didn't listen to God through this point. Hey, God's saying stop focusing on the past. Stop. Because that's the beauty of being a follower of Christ. Is He died for you so that you can ask for forgiveness. And then God says, hey, dummy, stop. You asked for forgiveness, and I forgave you, and then I forgot about it. So you need to do it too. Amen. Forgive yourself and then forget about it. Quit asking me for forgiveness about something that you already did, that you already asked for forgiveness for. It's done. It's finished. You can't go back and change it. Amen. He said, forget about it. I already did. Y'all, I'd be mad if I just kept asking for forgiveness over the same thing that I already asked for forgiveness over. And I guarantee you God is too. If somebody was doing that to me, I was like, dude, you tell me that every single day. All right? I get it. You messed up. We got to move forward. Quit looking in the past, because I got things in front of you that you need to be seeing, but you can't see them because you're so blindfolded about what happened in the past. Stop it. So maybe that's you today. Maybe you're in that place and you said, look, I've messed up. And I'm telling you, we all mess up. We're humans. It's part of it. But there is a man that came down to earth and died for us so that we could ask for forgiveness. And God says, all right, you've been forgiven. Now forget about it. And you go, but Boone, people keep bringing it up. In my life, people keep bringing it up. Who cares? That's between them and God. It's between them and God, not you. You've got to forget it. You've got to forgive yourself, and then you say, okay, I'm done with it. Put it in the past. If other people bring it up, then that's their problem. And just keep looking forward. Keep moving forward. One step at a time. All right, the second thing, I'm lost. Like I said, I get lost a lot. I'm always lost. Sometimes, you know, like I said, this GPS, the actual GPS, the machine, it's an incredible piece of machinery. However, it's not 100% accurate. It has gotten me lost a lot. It has taken me to a lot of weird places before because sometimes sometimes construction happens and different roads pop up that the GPS doesn't know about, or sometimes it doesn't know the exact address of something. And so, it's not 100% accurate. Here's the good thing about God's positioning system. It's 100% accurate. It's 100% accurate. He's never going to lead you astray. He's never going to take you to the wrong place. He's always going to take you exactly where you need to be. You will never be lost if you've got God in your life. If you are on that track, on that God positioning system, if you're on it, you're good. You're good. If you put Him in control of your life, you're good. And some of you might be in a place where you go, Boone, I feel lost. And I even am a person that I feel like me and God have a really good relationship. I study the Bible all the time. I pray all the time. I would consider myself a great follower of Christ. I'm that kind of person, Boone. And yet I still feel lost. I just feel like maybe God has forgotten about me. My life is so messed up. And I'm just like, God, why? Why have you done this? Why am I in this place? Why are my finances not blossoming? Why is my health still super bad? Why is my family problems still happening? Why is all of this happening, God? I'm doing what you told me to do. Why is it this way? And you feel lost. Anybody ever felt lost before? And you feel lost. And God says, hey, here's the cool thing. If you're in this place today, God says, hey, you're right where I want you to be. You're right where I want you to be. I know that it may not feel the best to you, and you may feel like that God doesn't have His best interest for you, but He does. He loves you. And He's never going to lead you astray. He's never going to take you off His path that He has for you. You have been positioned in a certain spot for a certain reason. God has put you there for whatever reason. So that's the second. So here comes the third. Maybe you're in this spot. Third is, where am I going next? Where am I going next? Back in May, Chris Ray and I celebrated our first year of marriage, our first anniversary. And we went on a cruise. Had an amazing time. It was so much fun. It was incredible. It was an absolute blast. The thing is as soon as we got back from the cruise, and like I said, we had a blast. I mean, we had no regrets. It was one of the funnest trips that we've ever taken together, and it was super, super fun. But as soon as we got back, we immediately started planning our vacation for next year. We didn't even look at pictures. We didn't have time to think about all the fun stuff we did. We immediately started planning next year. So what do you want to do next year? Where are we going to go next year? What are we going to do? She was already looking up prices for certain things, and she was like, can we afford this? And all kinds of stuff. And we were already planning for next year. And we didn't even sit and just man, we had a lot of fun. And so you might be a person like that tries to plan everything. You try to plan your life. You try to say, this is what I'm going to do. This is going to happen at this time and this time and this time. Maybe you're a planner and you're like, this is what's going to happen here in the next few years. I know it, just because I'm going to work at it, and this is going to happen and this is going to happen. Y'all, here's the thing. God doesn't want you to know what's going to happen in the next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. He doesn't need you to know that. You don't need to know. You don't need to know what's going on, because if He allowed you to know all that stuff, then what you would try to do is you would try to either A, run from it, because you would be like, there's no way that's happening, or B, you would try to make the steps happen to get to that position. So let's just take me for an example. I'm 26. So 10 years ago, I was 16. So let's just talk about some big events that have happened in my life over the past 10 years. When I was 16, started having seizures. We didn't know exactly what they were at the time, so I started having these seizures. Then graduated from high school. I was expecting to graduate from high school, so I'm glad that happened. But then I went to UCA, graduated from UCA. They hired me here as a student pastor, which we'll get to that in a second. And then ended up reuniting with Christy Ray. For those of you who don't know our love story, we knew each other when we were kids, and we ended up reuniting, and we fell in love, and so got married, bought a house, and within our first year of marriage, we talked about this a little bit ago. Within our first year of marriage, we had an older dog. We adopted an older dog, and we got a foreign exchange student, and we now have a puppy within our first year of marriage. And so if God would have told me that all of that was going to happen within 10-year span, I would have looked at God and been like, you are the craziest person that has ever existed, ever. If somebody told me that, I'd be like, there's no way any of that's happening. That's crazy. So I would have either run away from it, or I would have been like, okay, here's what I'm going to do to get to those things. And, so I would have found ways to try and get my seizures fixed. I would have found ways. I would have probably not gone to UCA. I would have probably gone to some kind of Bible college, because I would have known that I was going to be a youth pastor. So I would have gone to some other Bible college. I would have courted Christy Ray a lot earlier, probably. I would have, tried to date her a lot sooner. I would have, just done all this different stuff to try and make all these things happen, because God told me that that's where I was going to be in 10 years. So I would have tried to make all that happen. And y'all, it probably wouldn't have happened. She's told me many times that if she would have dated me in high school, that we wouldn't be married. So, that's not a lie either. She honestly has. And so it was a good thing that I didn't try to court her in high school, because we probably wouldn't be married. So that's what you have to realize, that God doesn't need you to know. God just needs you to know what's right in front of you. He's got little assignments for you to do right in front of you. The 10-year thing will happen in 10 years. You'll be where you need to be in 10 years. So there's no need for you to worry about all that. Don't worry about what's happening 10, 15, 20 years down the road. You don't need to know that. He's got it. He's got you. So you don't need to worry about it. God doesn't need you controlling things. God's in control. Hopefully you put him in control. God doesn't need you controlling things. I know some of you may be control freaks, and you're like twitching because I told you that God doesn't need you controlling things. You don't. You don't have to control every aspect of your life, because God's got it. He's got control of where you're going. He's got control of that. You don't have to worry about it. Here's the thing. You just have to have faith. That's what it boils down to. It's faith. Just have faith in him. It's easy. One word, faith. It's not very easy. Well, it's crazy how much one word has so much impact. But you know what else is another word that has so much impact? The name of Jesus. Amen. So we got to have faith in him. We got to have faith. So I'm going to give you one more sentence, and when we're going to end. It comes down to this. Quit trusting yourself. Stop. Don't need to worry about it. Quit trusting yourself. Quit worrying about everything that has already happened. Don't worry about what's going to happen. Don't worry about being lost. You're not lost. Have faith. Quit trusting yourself and start trusting the God positioning system. He's positioned you. He has positioned you where you're supposed to be at this point in time and where you need to be in the future. You're on the track where you need to be. You're on the road exactly where you need to go. Exactly where you need to go. You're going to take all the little exits that you need to take. You're going to take all the little side streets that he wants you to take. He has got you in the palm of his hands. You're ready to go. So just trust and believe in him. Amen.